Here are 20 items to never ever ever have in your home if you hate cleaning. Some of these items I'm going to mention you may already have in your home and you might not have a choice to change them, but if you do have the option, then these are some of the items I would probably avoid, especially if you hate cleaning. Number one is a square sink. We've had this in the house we previously lived in, and we have it in the house we currently own right now. So whenever you have a sink that's a square shape or a rectangle shape, anything that has very sharp corners inside, that's going to be so hard to clean. And I tell you from my own experience, that's exactly where all the food bits get stuck, and it just gets so gross and grimy in time. So what I do use to clean it is one of those sonic scrubbers, because it can really get in the corners, but you know, it would have been so much easier to clean had it been just like a smooth surface with no sharp corners. Number two is dark floors. I think dark floors can look so stylish, and I actually love the way they look. Downstairs in the hallway and in the kitchen we have this dark flooring. It's like a dark gray, and I love it. It looks so beautiful, but the only problem with it is that you can see every little speck of, you know, dirt or crumbs from the kids or anything like that. You can instantly see it on the floor, and I guess it can be a good thing because then, you know, you're aware that it's dirty, you can clean it up, but at the same time I feel like you have to be constantly on top of it to make sure that it's actually clean and it doesn't look like, you know, it's a disaster all the time. Sticking with floors, let's talk about rugs. So the third thing on my list is wool rugs. When I was looking for a rug for our living room, I kind of went through a lot of reviews just to see what people were saying, because I knew what look I wanted. I knew I liked that kind of wool, kind of pebbly looking or bobbly looking rug. But the one thing I found a lot of people say is that if it's a wool one or a certain type of fabric like that, it will shed a lot. And so if you have hardwood floors combined with that kind of rug, it's just not going to be fun. You know, you're going to have to hoover all day long to make sure you don't have you know, that shedding all over your floors. Next up, we've got Shaggy Rugs. We used to have these rugs back in Romania when we used to live in our flat there, and they were really lovely. I loved the way they looked. It was like a really long shaggy rug. We had it in the living room, in our bedrooms, and it was, I think it was really nice and it was really cozy. But once we had kids, I realized it's actually not very practical, because lots of little toys can get in the like little shaggy things, lots of crumbs, lots of dirt, and it's so hard to clean. It's so hard to get those out. Like just a simple hoover will not really work on that. So it's definitely not a practical thing, especially if you have kids or maybe animals. Yeah, that's just not gonna be fun. Sofas with covers that don't come off. One thing I found once I had kids is that your sofa will get so messy. We always have our meals at the table, not necessarily in the living room, but it's just inevitable. They will have snacks there, they will have, you know, little treats. Sometimes they will eat their dinners there. It's just gonna happen when you have kids. They will spill things, and so having a sofa cover that actually comes off is so handy. Our sofa is about 4 years old, I think. It's an Ikea Vimlay sofa, and it has served us so well. I actually get asked a lot because it's quite a light gray color, and people ask if it's hard to keep clean. I actually find it really easy because I do spot clean when I need to with just one of those carpet cleaners, the Dr. Bachmann one, and then when I want to do a deeper clean, I just take all the covers off, put them in the washing machine, dry them, pop them back on, and the sofa looks pretty much like new. So yeah, if you have a choice, try to go for a sofa that's got covers that can come off, because that's going to make everything just so much easier to clean. Then we've got textile dining chairs. I like our dining chairs to be pretty simple and easy to clean, so it needs to be one of those fabrics that's not gonna absorb food. So if your kids spill, you know, water, milk, drinks, food, anything like that, if they drop the tomatoey pasta on it, it's gonna be easy to clean because it's just gonna happen. I know we always have those little fingerprints on the top of the dining chairs, and so it's just so much easier if they're not textile, because when they're textile it usually doesn't come off the cover, and so it's just going to be impossible to keep clean, especially if you have kids. And while we're at the dining table, let's talk about rugs under the dining table. That's something you definitely do not want to have, especially if you have kids, because people will just drop food on the floor, and so if there is a rug there to catch them all, it's just gonna get messy, and it's gonna be one extra thing to clean. It's much easier to clean if it's like a hardwood floor or something like that, or a tile floor, rather rather than a rug under. And I learned this the hard way when my first baby was a toddler. I thought a rug under our dining table looked lovely and cozy under your feet, so we did have one in our kitchen. But then once we started weaning him, we actually took the rug away because it was impossible to keep clean. There was always food on it, and so it just felt like an extra hassle we didn't really need. Glass tables. I mean, they look so lovely, don't they? But keeping a glass table clean is going to be so hard to do, especially if you have little ones. But not only, you know, it's always going to be fingerprints and smudges and food, and it will be a constant game of wiping and trying to keep it clean. So glass tables are something I try to avoid, at least for our family so far. Next up, we've got French doors. You know, those doors that have the little window pans all over. Those are going to be so much harder to clean and wipe rather than, you know, just one big glass or one big surface in general. So if you hate wiping glass, then having those little ones is going to make it so much harder. So it might be best to avoid that if cleaning is not your thing. Next up, we've got blinds. We used to have more blinds in the house we previously lived in because we had them upstairs in all the bedrooms and downstairs in the living room and in the kitchen. So it was, you know, just kind of a constant game of dusting them, cleaning them, and it can be so hard, you know, going slat by slat to clean all of those blinds. In this house, we have actually just one sheet that comes down in all of the bedrooms, and then in the living room, we don't have them at the moment because I feel like our garden provides quite a bit of privacy, and we only have them in the kitchen, and so it's just so much easier to clean the house because I don't have to do all the blinds in all of the rooms. It's such a game changer. A gas hob. This is going to be generally harder to clean than an induction hob because a gas hob has, you know, all of the little things on top. It's just more intricate. It's just more difficult to clean, whereas an induction hob generally has just one flat surface. That's what we have now in our kitchen, and it is such a dream to clean. It's just one plain surface. That's it. Yeah, such a small thing that can make a big difference. Small tiles. You know, you can have these in your kitchen, in your bathroom, but the smaller the tile, you know, the more grout you have around it. I found that that makes it so much harder to clean. It just involves a lot more scrubbing, whereas if it's a bigger, you know, backsplash kind of tile, it's going to be much easier to wipe over and keep it clean in general. And speaking of tiles, any sort of porous backsplash or bathroom tiles, any sort of ceramic-y type of tile, you know, the one that's really porous that can absorb things, that's going to actually make it so much harder to clean. It's harder to dust. This is what I found from personal experience, because dust just kind of gets trapped, especially if it's a flat surface like this. It's much easier to clean if it's not necessarily a shiny surface. It can be matte, but just not one of those porous types of surfaces, because that's just way harder to wipe clean. And while we're in the bathroom, let's talk about floor standing toilets. You know, those that go all the way to the floor. I find that it's way harder to clean those rather than one that's kind of floating, you know, just kind of stuck on your wall. I find that if you have nothing on the floor beneath them, it's way easier to keep clean. Then glass display cabinets. I know some people love to have these to display things like, you know, Legos that they've built or different items that mean a lot to them, and I think that's fine as long as, you know, you have the time and energy to actually dust that and keep it clean. But it is something that's going to require quite a lot of time of dusting all the items inside, but the glass on them will also need to be wiped quite often, and it can just take a lot more of your time. Then let's talk about having lots of trinkets on lots of shelves. I think display shelves can be beautiful. They can add a bit of something to the room. It can make it a bit more cozy, but it does require a lot more time to dust that, you know, that flat surface, the shelf, the objects that are on it. So it's just about making sure that, you know, you don't have it too much so that it doesn't take up too much of your time. And this will depend on everybody. Everybody's lifestyle is different. Some might have more time to dedicate to cleaning, some might have less. So for me, in the busy season of life I'm in, I try to have minimal surfaces like that, minimal shelves, so that I don't have to spend so much time cleaning them. Intricate lighting. You know, those really intricate lighting fixtures that look beautiful, but they do need a lot of dusting. So the more little items are on there, the more dusting it will need, the more time it will require of you to clean. It will just be a more intricate job in general. Next, we've got lots of items on your counters, especially in the kitchen, right? If you have a lot of items out, it's going to take a lot longer to clean. And the kitchen is the one area in our homes that we actually have to clean pretty much every day, right? Because otherwise it just gets so messy. We cook in there, we eat in there, And so the less stuff you can have out on the counters, the easier your job will be to keep that kitchen clean. Excess furniture. I know a lot of us feel like we need so much storage space for all of our items. I used to feel the same, but once I decluttered my home, I realized actually I don't need that much furniture because I no longer have that many items, and it was a freeing feeling because the less furniture you have, and I'm not saying you need to get rid of all your furniture, by the way, but the less furniture you have to store items you don't truly need, the less cleaning you'll have to do, less dusting on surfaces, less items to keep organized, less items on the surface to dust all the time. It's just gonna give you back so much of your time. If you need help decluttering, I actually have a freebie for you. It's my decluttering checklist. That's always linked in the description box, just if you need an extra hand. Yeah, so the less items you have like that, the easier it will be to keep your home clean.